Hey everyone, next up in the In Defensive series, not labeling everything unisex, but not for the reason that you might think seeing that title. So this is not coming at it from some standpoint of men are women, men and women are women and non-binary people don't exist. No, this is not to say that things should be labeled for men or for women. I don't think that's good either. But I think that it would be nice to see more stuff just simply described as masculine and feminine when it is very stereotypically leaning in that sense to give people a better idea who are interested in it. That separates who should actually wear it because there could be plenty of women who know that they like masculine fragrances. That does not in any way mean that masculine is for men. That just means it's a certain type of fragrance that smells a certain way. Or, on the other hand, men who like feminine fragrances. That doesn't mean that it has to be for women. And just because somebody's non-binary doesn't mean that they only want to smell unisex fragrances either, I'm sure. So yeah, I would love to see this be done more often. And I actually almost never see this talked about. I pretty much always see either one of two extremes, which would be either somebody saying like, oh, gender doesn't matter in fragrance, like just wear whatever you want, which of course I absolutely agree with that. But people have preferences and tastes, and that is valid too. And it could even be for the exact reason that that person is coming from. Like, say somebody's trans, and that's why they want to have kind of feel some affirmation and whatever from wearing something that kind of goes with what they're looking for. If something's just labeled unisex, that's not helping anybody if they have a preference that is masculine leaning or feminine leaning, which most people do. And it doesn't always go with what actual gender they are. Like, I know plenty of women who prefer unisex or masculine leaning fragrances. And it would be nice to know when something is labeled as unisex that it actually smells unisex. Like for me, my favorite fragrances to wear tend to be either unisex or unisex leaning masculine. And sometimes like straight up more hyper masculine, but typically more just like masculine and unisex, but not too hyper masculine. For me, if I'm sampling stuff, I'll sample anything, so it doesn't matter as much. But if I'm looking for something that I really think I'm going to like to wear, it's kind of would be annoying to spend money and something's labeled as unisex and then it ends up being like so obviously feminine leaning where it's like, okay, well, maybe I wouldn't have spent money on that if I knew it wasn't going to be something that was probably so much my taste to wear. And that could be the case for a million things. So that is something that I would love to see in the fragrance community, even if it wasn't officially done in marketing or whatever by fragrance brands, for instead of people to describe things as for men or for women. I definitely don't like that part. That's just old-fashioned and gatekeeping, and I will only put that in the title stuff if that's the title of the fragrance. So sometimes if you see a review of me doing that, I'm only putting that because that's literally part of the title of the fragrance. But I also don't want to see everything just referred to as unisex because that's not helping people actually find the scent that they are looking for a lot of the time. So metaphorically unisex, yeah, sure, great. But in terms of like what it actually smells like, it would be more helpful to give people an idea of if something does smell. To me, the main categories would be like feminine, unisex leaning feminine, unisex leaning masculine, and masculine. Because then that kind of like, most people have some taste in there, and yes, there are definitely people who are down for everything, but even then, sometimes people have a certain mood that they're in for certain days or whatever, but I do think most people kind of have some preference on that spectrum of what they like to wear and tend to be drawn towards in terms of scent. So would love to see that more talked about, and that's definitely what I try to do in like the titles of stuff and how I describe things and saying whether it's masculine or feminine, not based on how it is marketed. And including on my site Decant Planet, I have the filters for gender or whatever, and I put masculine, feminine, unisex, and I really try to generally fill that out based on like what I think it actually smells like and not just how it's marketed. But yep, that's the latest in defensive for me. And again, this is not coming at it from a way of like men and women wear this and that and whatever like that. Just let people have a way of knowing what stuff smells like and not erasing preferences without also saying who should wear it. And I think that's totally possible with just saying whether it smells masculine or feminine.